Hi, this video is about adverb clauses. Adverb clauses are just one type of dependent clause. And as you can see on this slide, they're all going to have the same structure, which is not difficult to catch at the beginning. Maybe the difficult part is that there are many different subordinators and there are different kinds of meanings that we can use to connect ideas. So the basic structure you can see here with a main clause connected to an adverb clause. So I've got the main clauses marked in blue, the adverb clause in green. Remember, the adverb clause is a dependent clause. Remember, every clause in English has a subject and a verb. So I have those here too, but of course there would probably be other words also in the clause. The main thing about adverb clauses is the subordinator. The subordinator is the connecting word that is the first word that you will see in the adverb clause. And there are many different subordinators for different meanings. This is how we're making the connection between the two clauses. What's different between the top and the bottom is that the bottom shows you we can start a sentence with an adverb clause. The only difference is that we would use a comma in between in that case. Okay, if you took a course that involved lots of verb tenses, you probably studied lots of time clauses. And I want you to know that time clauses are also adverb clauses. They are one type of adverb clause. So you have probably studied lots of adverb clauses in the past. Maybe you didn't know the name. So on this list, I just have several examples of different types of time clauses. When you studied verb tenses, you had to think carefully about the verb tense in each clause. I have subordinators marked here in, I guess it's kind of an orange color. And again, you see the same rule that the adverb clause might come in the second half of the sentence, or it might come in the first half. Okay, this chart shows you the different meanings, the different logical connections or logical relationships that exist between clauses. Those are on the left. And on the right is a list of subordinators that can be used for that meaning. So when you want to talk about the reason for something, you might have a clause that starts with because or since or as or now that. So we can choose just one. Some of these have the same meaning, some of them have small differences. So next we're going to see a slide for each type of meaning. This one focuses on reason. In this case, the first three sentences all give the same meaning. I just changed the subordinator from because to since to as. I know that you probably use the word because a lot. Now it's time for you to learn some of the other subordinators and practice the ones that may be new or not as familiar to you. And remember, all of these could be written with the clauses in the reverse order. So I've got sentence 2 above. I could simply switch the order and that's fine. The only difference is the comma. Now that is also a subordinator that talks about reason. It's a little bit of a special meaning. I think it also involves time. We use now that when we talk about people who are reaching a new step or a new stage. Something has changed. Often it's kind of a major thing in life that has changed, and that is why the action in the main clause is possible. Now that she's finished college, she needs to find a full-time job. Now that they have children, it's more difficult for them to go out. Now that he has his driver's license, he has more freedom. And again, we can switch the clauses too. People understand you much more easily now that your English is better. So we put the reason in the adverb clause, and the action in the main clause is now possible because of that reason. Okay, so of course, this is not the only way to express reason. Making a sentence with an adverb clause is one type of structure, but we have other structures that do that also with different connecting words. So this is just kind of a reminder to you. We can make a compound sentence with so. So that same idea we had on a previous slide, we can express with a compound sentence. They were not able to make a profit, so they closed the business. This structure is different because it has two independent clauses. We can consider that both clauses are equally important. The information is balanced. You can also make a prepositional phrase with because of or due to, and those are followed by a noun. So again, kind of the same idea from before, but this time the structure is different. It's a prepositional phrase and then just one clause, just one main clause. Because of their lack of profit, they closed the business. Due to the failure of the business, they closed it. So I had to think of a noun that could express the same idea. Okay, next, adverb clauses of contrast. This is slightly complicated because there are two types of contrast meaning. One is called concession in grammar. It's kind of just a fancy way to say the idea of but. The main clause expresses unexpected or surprising information. And those subordinators are although, even though, and though. And also while can be used this way. I like to think of these first three as three brothers because they look almost the same. You can learn them together. And the weird thing is, although is one word and even though is two words. But you can also just use though. Okay, the other type of contrast is called direct contrast. When we talk about opposites, we show a direct contrast between two things. Two things are not equal. And those subordinators are while and whereas. So notice that while can be used for both types. Maybe you remember while is also used for time. So that's another complication. Some of these subordinators are used in several ways. So here are some examples with contrast. I have concession on the left and direct contrast on the right. You can pause and read those. And again, I put some of the adverb clauses at the end and some at the beginning. Okay, just as we did with reason, we should pause and remember there are some other ways to indicate contrast, which are not adverb clauses. So one way, again, is with a compound sentence. I can use but, and I can also use a prepositional phrase with the words despite or in spite of, again, followed by a noun. Again, these are weird. You might ask me, why is this one word and why is this one 3 words? I don't have an answer. That's English. Just deal with it, right? Just memorize it. Next, adverb clauses of manner. What we mean by manner is how something happens or in what way, in what manner. These subordinators are as though, and as if. So as is just the manner in which somebody does something. He went out for a run in the morning as he usually does. She made the cake as she always does, but it turned out different for some reason. Now, the truth is that when we speak, we use the word like a lot. And many of us would probably use the word like. He went out for a run in the morning like he usually does. When we speak, that's fine, but for academic writing, it's not really correct. Like is a preposition, as is the subordinator that can give that meaning. As though and as if have more special meanings. She sounds as though she's angry. As though. Okay, so these we can use these two interchangeably. The meaning behind this is I'm not sure if she's angry. Maybe she is, maybe she isn't, but that's the way it sounds to me. That's my impression. He looks as if he's 10 years younger than he really is. Okay, so maybe I know that he's 60, but he really looks like he's 50. That's what I'm trying to say, is that the reality looks different from the impression. Next is purpose. Purpose. Why does an action happen? The subordinator we're going to use is so that. It's important to drink enough water so that you don't get dehydrated. So if we ask the question, why is it important to drink enough water? The purpose is to not get dehydrated, right? So that introduces the purpose. We do strength training so that we can maintain or build our muscle mass. You'll see often in the clause with so that, you'll see can or maybe could for past. Maybe will and would are also very common verb forms in that adverb clause. This one is very uncommon with so that at the beginning of the sentence. It's possible, but I think it's at the end of the sentence. I would say at least 90% of the time. Here's one in past. We use sunscreen so that we wouldn't get a sunburn. That's a much more natural verb rather than so that we didn't, so that we wouldn't get a sunburn. Okay, I want to say that you will see and you will hear many examples where people simply use the word so. I guess that's fine, but remember, so is used to make a compound sentence. So when you talk about a purpose, you really should use so that. You are creating an adverb clause. I strongly recommend that you use the subordinator so that when you are talking about a purpose. Do not use simply the word so, because technically that's a different meaning. Also, using the complete so that, the complete subordinator, is going to help you remember the structure of your sentence. Okay, finally, for result, we also use the word so and we use the word that, but notice that there are these other words in between. This is a little complicated. You can see sometimes we also have to use words like many and few, much and little, and also instead of so, we use the word such. So look at the chart. I have examples to match each one. These are kind of special because, well, the main clause includes the word so, but so that is also part of the dependent clause. Anyway, study these. These are a little bit more complicated, but they are also adverb clauses. You need to practice your own examples with each type. Bye.